Hey guys, and welcome to Gwent, the Witcher card game. My name is Jaggerous, and today we're going to look at the PTR patch notes and basically talk about them. So it's all good. Here we go. So Scoia'tael, Philavandrel, which is leader's gone up in points. So he's the one that creates. Yorvith has less strength but does more damage. So it's a net gain of 1 point. I mean, I think like 6 damage is not quite enough. Like 8 is decent. Like this seems fine with me. This seems fine. Eglace now banishes the card resurrected from your opponent's graveyard. I like that change. I think that being able to take like a different factions card and then replay it with Ithne, because Ithne is a leader, so you're guaranteed it. I think that makes Eglace alright. Like having the one-off use is I think fair. Yorvith Meditation can now only force 2 units on the same row to duel each other. That is a big change, because basically if you make a change like that, row positioning becomes more important. But this is really interesting because some factions want to row stack and some factions don't. So it makes Yorvith like really good against the row stacking factions, and then decent against other factions. But it does mean that if your opponent only has 3 units, then it's pretty bad. Like, because if they play 1 unit on each row, you can't make anyone duel. It's very situational. I don't know if this, I mean, I feel like in some ways maybe this nerf is so much that he won't see play. But on the flip side, he was insanely strong. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, like, it means that playing around Igni, you spread your units out. Playing around Yorvith, you spread your units out. So this seems kind of okay to me. Moran is now stronger. And I'm guessing, when it says when an enemy unit is played, flip over and deal 7 damage. I'm guessing what this means is that she hits them before they deploy. We can check that, though. So look, we got the PTR here. Look at this. So let's go find Moran. Oh wait, this is Northern Realms. 1 second. Look at this. Let's just search Moran. There we go. When an enemy unit is played, flip over and deal 7 damage to that unit. I don't know if this means that like before or after the deployability. This is something we'd have to play around with. If it's before the deployability, I think this is really strong. I think that's where Moran's strength lies, was with dealing damage before the deploy, because it makes the timing on her really key. So I'm hoping that that's what that means. But obviously, we don't know for sure. Okay, Yarpen is up to an 8, which is fine. Agitator's down to a 1. Elven Scout down to a 1. So they basically put all of these ones that, like, create down to a 1. And these are small point changes, but they'll mean a lot in the long run. Like, if you're running 3 Elven Scouts and 3 Agitators, that's a 6-point nerf across your deck, which I think is fair. This is fair. Mahakam Guard now boosts. So it's a 9. Oh, it's a 4 now, so it's gone from a 9 to a 4, and then boosts an ally by 7 instead of 3. So he's gone down by 5, and his boost has gone up by 4, so that's a 2-point nerf. I don't think Mahakam Guard was a huge issue, but then I guess this is interesting because it means that you're making units bigger. So previously you play a 9 and then you'd boost a 2, whereas now you're playing a 4, but you have to boost something else. I don't know. I guess this is to play around like the mid-range nature of this deck. Half-Elf Hunter copies are now doomed. I don't know if there was an issue with that, but okay. Dwarven Skirmisher boosts self by 3 instead of strengthening. Yeah, this is something that everyone kind of expected. So the Dwarven Skirmisher previously would strengthen by 3, and then because of the dwarf card that resurrects from your graveyard, Polly, it meant that they then resurrect the strengthened Dwarven Skirmisher, which is now a 9, and then make it a 12, and then there was a kind of issue with that. And Dwarven Mercenary went from a 7 to an 8. What is a Dwarven Mercenary? Dwarven Merc, this guy. Move a unit. Oh, so it's buffs movement. Maybe we should make a movement deck. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, back to the patch notes. Skellige. East Twirsek is now... Oh, he's got a full name, and he's now a 5. Him went down in 1 point. Like, these are just kind of small changes to try and help these guys. Restore now adds a Doom tag to the resurrected unit. I really like this change. I think Restore is kind of insane because of how many resurrects... Skellige does have, you know, because you were restoring Freyas, people were restoring the bear dude. Like, basically, there's a lot of small units that you could restore and then chain into Freya reses, and I think this kind of makes it more fair. Champion of Hov can now duel at higher or equal enemies. What does that mean? What is a Champion of Hov? What even is that card? Greatsword's got buffs, which is cool. And Twirsek Veteran now has a soldier tag. I like this because this makes Iced better. So we'll talk about these separately. So let's find out what the Champion of Hov is first. Oh, it's Champion of Champions. Cock. Cock became Co. So now he can just duel any enemy. Still don't feel like that makes him good. Like, But more importantly, the Tuirsek. So, Iced, the way he works is that he spawns a bronze Tuirsek soldier. And you actually get a choice of all of them, I believe. Like, when I've been playing Iced, you can just choose any of the bronze Tuirseks. But previously, Clan Veteran, the Tuirsek Veteran, he wasn't a soldier. But now what you can do is you can spawn Iced into the Veteran and buff all of your Tuirsek units. So we might be able to try playing around with a Tuirsek deck that could be successful. So lots of interesting decks to play around with. Anyway, back to the patch notes. Okay, so monsters. Unseen Elder went up a point, still not great. Whispering Hillock went up a point, probably still not great. Karen went down to 5, but now consumes a unit with 7 or lower, and boosts health by its power. Okay, I like this change. I mean, I play Karen in my consume deck anyway, I like Karen. But making it a 7 gives you a little bit more options in terms of targets, because it's really a shame when you have Karen and the only targets you have are like a 2. It just feels bad. Corinthier now has a surname and became a 9. I like this change. He's also in my Eridan deck. Monster's Nest does not boost the spawned unit by 3 anymore. Oh, that's a big change. I mean, I guess they're trying to nerf, like, big endgame finishers. So Monster's Nest into Ghoul into something from the graveyard was quite big. So that's interesting. I don't know if I agree with this. I think, like, you could have toned the boost down, like, made it 2 or 1, rather than just completely removing it. Morvad went up to a 6. I like this. Ifrit went up to an 8. Slizzard went down to a 2. Like, these are all kind of fine. Nithril got reworked. So let's have a look. Deal 5 damage to an enemy. Increase damage by 1 for every Wild Hunt unit in your hand. So he's worth 10, but every Wild Hunt unit you have makes him worth more. The problem here is that he's worth more points early. But, like, early, do you always want your removal? I don't know. I don't know. I think you could have made him... Could you not have made him more similar to, like, Viper Witcher? Right? Like, why don't you just make it... Because how many Wild Hunt units are there? Like, just make him like Viper Witcher, where he does damage based on your starting deck, right? So then your Nithril, if you're running an Eridan deck, you get 1. With Gills is 2. With Corinthier is 3. Navigator is 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, like... 8, 9. Like, I think you should make his damage based on your starting deck, and I think that would be fine. I don't know. I don't know. This seems like not enough. I think, like, if Nithril, like, if he was just like Viper Witcher, where Viper Witcher deal 1 damage for each alchemy card in your starting deck. So deal 1 damage for each Wild Hunt card in your starting deck, and then Nithril is fine. Because then he's consistent throughout the game, and his damage is based on deck building, and you want him to be part of the Wild Hunt archetype. So to me, that makes the most sense for that change. And then obviously Slizzard is now a 2. Slizzard, I don't know. Slizzard I think is still a very strong card because it allows you to thin your deck very efficiently and it gives you a consume. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, back to the notes. Nilfgaard. Treason. Reworked. Force 2 adjacent units to duel each other. So Treason, you now make 2 units that are next to each other fight. Is that good? I guess that's good against, like, Fringilla. Like, you make one Fringilla target, kill the other one. I don't know. I don't know if this will see play. Like, I think the adjacency, because that's not up to you, is kind of awkward. Although, I guess with Cantarella, you can choose where to place Cantarella. But then they can place units in between. So, I feel like Treason is too easily played around to make it playable. Slave Driver, 2-1, and copies are now doomed, which means the only Slave Drivers you can res are the original ones, I would assume. And Rot Tosser got a little bit of a buff, but I still don't think Rot Tosser will see that much play. Shani. Small nerf. Fine. Selkirk. Little buff. Meh. Reaver Hunter's little buff. Vincent. He's the one who drains all the armor. Little buff. I don't know. I don't know if these, like, single point buffs will be enough, realistically. Like, it's not like they were on the cusp of play or... Like, because I feel like with some cards, you know, they occasionally see play, right? Like, Shani... gets played all the time. So putting her down 1 point isn't going to stop her from being played. Whereas Selkirk or like Vincent and Reaver Hunters don't see any play. So Reaver Hunters 5 to a 6 is a bit bigger because Reaver Hunters you can buff. They buff each other so you can have 3 of these. But like changing a silver so that it has 1 more point, I feel like isn't going to make the change where it becomes like an auto-include. Like I don't know if this is going to make Vincent played anymore. Selkirk, also Fieldmatic went to a 6 from an 8. See, this is 2 points across 3 bronzes, so this is more substantial, I would say. Selkirk, on the other hand, what does he even do? Wait, no, that's not him. Duel an enemy 3 armor. So it makes him deal 1 more damage. So he can outright kill an 11. I mean, if you can outright kill an 11. Oh, no, wait, he only deals 8 damage because he's got armor. So if he hit an 11, he'd deal 8 damage, then, yeah, then they'd hit him for 3, and then he'd kill them. So he can outright kill an 11. I think Selkirk is, like, the kind of 1 point does make a difference. Like, this is the kind of card where 1 point makes a difference, because it's 1 point of strength on him, but it's also 1 more point of damage, right? So it's not just a power boost, it's also a hit, so it's actually a 2-point buff. And 2-point buffs, I do think, can start to be more substantial, whereas 1 point buffs on, like, Shani being put down 1 point, for example, isn't really going to make that much of a difference. Okay, moving on, neutral. Ciri Nova strengthens up to 22 instead of 25. I like this change. I think Ciri Nova is a pain. Like, the way that she works is that she is like a last round mega play, and these 3-point nerf I think is fair. I think this is a fair page, because she's basically like Tibor without requirements, because Tibor lets them draw a bronze, and Hjalmar you have to kill the target, right? Whereas Ciri, the requirement is automatically met by deck building, so it's, in my opinion, stronger. Avalak Sage, 1 point. Yennefer Conjurer, 1 point. This is nice because, okay, this change is really nice because 9 strength means that she was removable by Elsa's Thunder. 10 strength means that she's not. I really like this change. Like, you can't just remove her in 1 ability. Commander's Horn, boost 5 adjacent units. Maybe we could try and make a swarm deck with, like, Yen Conj and Mandrake and stuff. Boost 5 adjacent units by 3. That's a huge nerf. So it went from a 20-point play, if the setup is correct, to a 15-point play. I mean, it's strong in Ethne because you can replay it, but that is huge. That is really, really big. But the problem with the Nova nerf is that even if you, like, now she's not igniable. So, like, she's better against Igni, but worse against other things. Like, she's fine against Scorch and stuff because she's still big. This is huge. Summoning Circle can't copy spies anymore is fantastic. This was a really necessary change. I really like this. Lesser Demons. I don't think this is worded correctly. I've heard that this one's not worded correctly, so we'll come back to it. Doppler is no longer organic. Oh, I mean, it means it can't be pulled with Herbalist, but Doppler wasn't really seeing play anyway. And then Stammelfer's Tremor does not spawn a Golem. So this is better. This is better because of Ithlin. But the thing is with Ithlin, it means that she doesn't get that extra perk of if she kills a 1. But I think they also changed Ithlin, so let me double check some of these cards in here. So I'm guessing Igni is still the same. Yeah. And then Nova. Yeah, so she boosts to 22. Interesting. And then Ithlin. Play a bronze spell, boon or hazard from your deck twice. So this is different because previously she'd play a spell and then spawn a copy of it. Now she plays 2 from your deck. So you have to have 2 Tremors in your deck, for example. And then the Tremors change has made it so that it doesn't spawn an extra dude. So I guess now Ithlin you have to have 2 Tremors in your deck instead of 1. And, you know, you draw 1 Tremors, that kind of fucks you up. Because the way Ithlin works is, if you read it, play a bronze spell, boon or hazard from your deck twice. So you can't pick 2 separate spells or hazards, is my understanding. You have to have 2 of them, and they have to be in your deck. Which means if you draw into them, you're kind of scuppered. So I really like these changes. I think it's good. And I think, like, with the Igni thing with Nova, it's like, yes, you can play around it, right? So, yes, you can... This means you can play around Igni. But on the flip side, it's also 3 fewer points for when she's last play. And it's 3 fewer points for in a lot of other situations, which I think, you know, does help a little bit. So, you know, 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, really. The other card I wanted to talk about was Lesser Demons. So let's have a look at these. Move a card from your deck to your hand, then discard a random card. So it said something about banishing, but I'm kind of confused by that. I don't really understand what it did beforehand. So you target, draw a card, and then you discard a random card, right? Oh, did it? Maybe it previously... So it maybe previously banished the random card, but now it discards it. That's what I'm going to suggest that it is, which is fine. I'm still not entirely certain this will see play, because if you target, draw something, and then discard it, that just hurts, right? That's a pain. Anyway, that is, I guess that's the patch notes. So those are my kind of thoughts and feelings. I'm upset that I mean, a lot of people are upset, but I'm upset that Enforcers didn't see any changes. So Enforcers, you see here, deal 2 damage to an enemy. Like, these guys are just really strong. And I think, like, the fact that Spies wasn't really touched is gonna basically make it Spy meta. Like, they changed Dwarves a lot, and they changed Consume, but they kind of just were like, yeah, Spies are fine. Spies are fine. And I don't really feel like Spies are fine, so that is probably what we're going to be seeing in the ladder a lot. It would be nice to see some tweaks to Nilfgaard, and also maybe some buffs to Northern Realms. Although, actually, one thing that's not mentioned in here... no, go back. I don't want to see this. One thing that's not mentioned, Northern Realms, the Kaedweni Revenant, I believe they're called. These guys are no longer doomed. So, the original copy is not doomed, but the base copy that you spawn are doomed. And what that means is that you can resurrect one of these, but the only way you can resurrect one of these is with... We search Northern Realms silvers. The only way you can resurrect one is with Sabrina, because Sabrina resurrects a bronze cursed unit. Shani is non-cursed, so you can't resurrect them with Shani. So you only get one res, and you can't resurrect Sabrina because Sabrina is also doomed, right? But you can maybe get Sabrina with Ada. So potentially you could maybe do some sort of thing with Ada. But this does give you a little bit of a contingency plan for your Kaedweni, which maybe helps Cursed a little bit. But beyond that, like, Cursed was kind of left alone. And I'm kind of sad that we didn't see many buffs. Like, we saw a lot of nerfs, but we didn't really see buffs. You know, Queen's Guard are still bad, for example. And some of the other kind of archetypes aren't great. So we'll kind of wait to see what happens with the meta. I do think we'll see Dwarves fall off, and I think we'll see Spies creep up. In terms of other decks that might start to see play, maybe Cursed, but realistically, I don't feel like this is enough. I think, you know, Hensel and Machines is still kind of the better deck, even if it's a bit more coin flip dependent. Then you can just go Radovid Armor. I think that's also probably a better Northern Realms deck. Skellige, they still have their bear deck, so that's fine. The Restore Change, I think, was fine. I think Skellige are in a good place. Like, I think Skellige are probably in a pretty decent position, right? Everyone else is kind of tweaked a bit, but I think ultimately Nilfgaard Spies will be the best. And yeah, that's my opinion, I guess, on the PTR at least patch notes. I'll give a full overview of the finalized patch notes when this happens, because obviously we have a week of PTR. And if you want to play the PTR, then you can play yourself. It's a public PTR. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye!